Hey everyone, it's Natalie with Resilient Body Wellness, and I am going to be starting a new series on how to improve kind of different facets of life and different activities. So one of the first activities that was suggested to me was balance. And I think that's a good place to start for kind of this whole journey and series that I'm going to take you guys on, because it's a really good segue into understanding that we cannot make improvements on something unless if we are meeting ourselves where we are at. There's an analogy that I use all the time, that if you give someone a book in Latin that has never spoken Latin, hasn't ever spoken Spanish or any other kind of related language there, that they will have a very, 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 very challenging time taking any context from that. So it's the same thing that goes from learning balance skills or doing muscular tasks, is that if you don't meet someone where they are at, they will not progress. You can give them that same harder task over and over and over again, but if it doesn't fit into what is called their zone of proximal development, teachers and educators will probably understand what that is. It's just where someone is being pushed slightly out of their comfort zone. They know the material. They need to be pushed onto the edges of where they don't know the material in order to learn. You know, that is how our body learns, is it needs to be pushed to the comfort zone. So where we come with our balance in many ways is that we stop challenging our balance. I tell people all the time, when you're a kid, your balance is really good, because when we come to a stream, what do you do to cross a stream? You will be like, sure, I'll either walk across the slippery rocks or I'll jump from rock to rock. I'll be on one foot, I'll be tipping sideways, and I don't care if I fall down. As we get older, we make the decision to not cross the river that way, and we'll walk down the smooth path another quarter mile to cross the bridge. That is where we lose our balance. We lose our balance in not challenging ourselves anymore. So if you feel scared in your balance, you definitely need to improve it. The other thing that I kind of even want to put forth before we get into the balance stuff is your strength. Same thing with kind of the river analogy. We lose our strength as we get older because we self-selectively choose not to move as much. It is that simple. Life circumstances change, but you cannot do the same things you did when you're 18 because you stopped doing the things you did when you were 18. And that is really a big part of it. And there's a direct correlation between our balance and our strength. So if you look at studies, they show that the thicker your quadriceps and hamstring muscles are, the better your balance is and the less likely you're going to have a fall, like within a year time span. So it's good to be strong. It works on our balance. And why that happens is because our body is made of a group of levers. So every joint you have is a lever. So if you remember any physics, force equals distance over time. And levers, if you have a longer lever, you're gonna need more force to pull that lever back. And if you have been getting weaker, it's gonna be harder for you to be able to pull your lever back. So that is something that right off the bat, if you start working on your strength and your lower body strength, you will get better at balance pretty much automatically, because your levers will be able to apply more force to bring you back to your center of mass. So now getting to balance and going back to meeting yourself where you are at. When I am working with clients or in the clinic, one thing that I do if someone is struggling with their balance is I take them through a progression of more difficult balance activities, because I need to find out where it stops being super easy for them. At that point, then I need to make the exercises kind of from that point on. I'm going to start with standing stuff. So it is possible that you are someone who has any difficulty even standing up without hanging on to something. You could be something where working on seated balance might be more appropriate right now, or working on balance where you are actually hanging on to something where you're standing up. I'm not going to cover those in this video, but you can still take a lot of the same principles and kind of apply it to yourself. And of course, you can always leave questions and things like that, and I will try to answer them for you. So when I'm working with someone, the first thing that I try to see if they can do is stand with their feet as close as they can together. Sometimes there are knee things that are going to keep you from being able to contact your toes together like this. If that's the case, you go as close as you can together, because for you, that's where your feet are gonna get. So as close as you can get those feet together. This is position number 1. Can you stand here for 60 seconds without falling over, needing to reach for something? Time yourself. See where you can get to. Objective measures. So numbers are really important when you are looking at getting better at something, because you need a goal. You need to know where you were so you know what is better and what is not. So someone can pretty easily stand here for 60 seconds. What we do is then we bring in a squishy compliant surface. So I have what are called Eric's pads. They're these foam that have a squish to them. At home you can use a pillow, you can use rolled up blankets, a couch cushion, something that really doesn't let your body touch the ground but gives and makes you wobble in between. So the next one then is feet right next to each other on the squishy surface. Same thing, timing yourself for 60 seconds, seeing how far you get. After that, we are then working on gonna take our vision away, but put us back on firm ground. So, feet together, eyes closed, seeing how long you can stand with those eyes closed. Again, if you can do your 60 seconds here, you're gonna bring back your squishy compliant surface and add it back in. So now we have the 4th position here. And again, now you're going to go back to eyes closed on the squishy surface. So what we just looked at through that series is the 3 senses that we have that we use for balance. So the first one, that sense that we have, is our touch and our joint position sense. So how much we can feel the ground, how much our joints can kind of tell where we are in space. And then we also have our vision, which tells us a lot about the surrounding area. It gives us a piece of where our head is in space. And then the final one is our vestibular system. So the inner ear, you might have heard that hearing loss and balance go hand in hand. It's because those structures are very tightly intertwined in the inner ear. So during that sequence, we looked at very firm surface that our body is really able to pick up, to a soft surface that's harder for it to pick up, and then taking our vision away and leaving us with only our vestibular system and a very uneven ground to see if our vestibular system can do the rest of it. So if you can get through all of those, the next part is we need to make it a little bit harder again. So the next phase of getting it to be more challenging is going one foot in front of the other. So like you're walking on a tightrope. So one foot in front of the other. Like if there was a line on the floor, the length of your both feet would be on it. And going from here. This can be a split place because some people can do the narrow balances, but they cannot do this one. So that might be a case where you kind of do more of a step forward and see if you can balance here in this step forward, and then your goal would be walking those feet in to make it more narrow. If you can do the single leg stance or tandem stance, okay, then you're going to take yourself through the same sequence that you did for the narrow foot position. So we're going to go from narrow foot to narrow foot, eyes, or just jumped ahead on you. Sorry, narrow foot to foam surface. So getting yourself on your foam, one foot in front of the other, and then kicking it away. You have eyes closed in the narrow foot, bringing it back to the foam for eyes closed, one foot in front of the other. That is the second portion of the sets that I do. The last one is you're going to take yourself through those same positions. If you're getting this far, again, if you've already found your challenge place, the rest of the video has not been applicable. You just stop where you find that you are getting challenged at. So like I said, single foot on foam, single foot eyes closed, single foot eyes closed on the foam. So those 4 positions will help you identify where you need to start your balance challenge at. So if you can make it to the 60 seconds, That's not the one you want to be at. You want to be at the one where you're struggling to get about 30 seconds or so on the clock for each position. And these are really the basic places to start. From here, where I take people is with head movements, arm movements, body movements, and making sure that they can still keep their balance where they're at. So I hope this is helpful for you to start to pick up where your balance starts to get challenged at, so that you can find yourself in your zone of proximal development so that you can make progress. You can leave questions, comments, any more suggestions that you have in the video below. Like I said, I hope this is helpful and that you start to find how to become a little bit more resilient today.